name's Dave Kimble. I'm one of the store managers over at Ace of Jewel Square over at Jewel in Wadsworth. How many of you guys have been to our store? Excellent. I like that. Yeah, I'm there most weekdays. I'm the guy that's there at 7 in the morning and sneaking out about 4. But anyway, so if you got any questions, you can either ask me tonight or you can come by and talk to me later. We're going to go over a few main things that you can do to your home to make a major difference in your energy usage and we're also going to talk about water usage too. The Harvey Park, I love the neighborhood. They've got some incredibly characteristic homes, distinctive homes. I used to coach my girls in soccer 15 years ago, and I always loved when we got to go play at Harvey Park because that's such a beautiful park and a beautiful area. But as you guys know, the homes are getting older, which, you know, efficiency standards when homes were built back then are not what they are today. So if you haven't already done it, you got some catching up to do to get your home really as efficient as it can be. You can make a big difference in your pocketbook. You really can. Every month you can watch your energy bill just plummet. Xcel Energy, God love them, but once you really have the money to yourself. I want to talk about a few things. We're going to kind of start down in your basement. Your water heater, especially if you've got an older water heater, they are not terribly efficient, and the insulation is not what newer water heaters are today. And if you don't want to go out and spend, $400 or $300 on a new water heater, an easy way to really cut down on how much energy just, escapes through the sides of your water heater and how much heat escapes is just get yourself an insulated blanket. They're real, they're cheap. They're less than $20. You can, just put a nice little blanket around your water heater. You will notice instantly in your gas usage, if you have a gas usage, and obviously electric, if you've got an electric heater, that this will make a huge difference in how much water escapes, how much heat escapes through the side of your water heater. The main culprit in energy loss in all homes, and especially older homes, is your windows and your doors. I was talking with Susan earlier about Xcel Energy will come out and do home audits. They bring out an infrared camera, and they can literally show you where the heat is leaving your homes. And in older windows and older homes, you would not believe how brightly red those things glow with all of the energy and all of your dollars escaping out through your windows. First thing you can do is start on the outside. If you have go all the way around your house, all the way around your door frames, all the way around your window frames. If you see any large gaps, that's an energy sucker right there. So just simple caulk, and it's easy to do. You get yourself a caulking gun, you little tip off there, and you make a run around it, smooth it off with your finger. It's a piece of cake. If you have large gaps that you need to caulk, and you don't want to be, sitting there just pouring more and more and more caulk into those larger gaps, this is called backer rod. It's just simply foam tape, and it comes in diameters as small as 3/16 and goes all the way up to 3/4 inch. So it's good for and what you do is you put that into the crack or the, whatever opening you have first, and then you caulk on top of that. So you will, not only save all that energy, but you won't be going through twice as much caulking as you need to get a good seal. Easy way to tell if you're losing energy around the outsides of your windows is just get one of those long-handled barbecue lighters. Run it around the edges, run it around the edges of your doors. Watch what the flame is doing. If that flame is being sucked out towards the window, right then and there, you're throwing your money out that little crack and out that little opening. So, close up those gaps around the frame first. The window itself, today they're making really wonderfully efficient windows, but they all are, triple, sometimes even quadruple paned windows that, really hold that. If you have, there's not very many single pane windows left, but if you have single pane or even double pane windows, you're probably losing some energy out of that. This is, I'm sure you guys have seen this, it's window film. You put this on the inside of your home, and you go, first thing you want to do is make sure that the outside frame of your window or your window opening, or wherever you're going to put the two-sided tape, is really clean. It's really dust-free. Because the tape on here, the adhesive's good, but it's not, you know, Gorilla tape or something like that, because then it'd peel away your drywall when you took it off. But you make sure that's really clean. I always recommend taking a rag and a little isopropyl alcohol and running it around the whole frame, the area where you're going to put the tape. Put the tape up first, and then you put, starting from the top to the bottom, you put the film up. And you don't have to worry if it looks beautiful when you first do it, because this stuff is all heat shrink window film. And then the next thing you do is you get out your blow dryer, and you lightly start in the upper corner, and you just keep working down, and you will see it tightening up, and all those wrinkles and creases and bends, everything else will go away, and it will look crystal clear. You won't even know. It's not like, you know, some old opaque, cloudy plastic that people used to put up. You will not even know when you're looking out your window that you have this stuff up. I mean, it'll be tight as a drum. Literally, you can hit it and it'll ping like a snare drum. And this stuff comes in several different sizes, so you can do as many windows out of a kit as you want. This is a 6-window kit. It's enough film to do 6 average-sized windows. We also have it big enough for sliding patio doors. Patio doors are a huge energy sucker also. Now around the windows and around the doors in the openings, another huge place where energy gets out. We have several different products. This is, it's basically just foam tape, and once again, this comes in varied thicknesses and varied density too, because let's face it, in some homes, an older window, when you close it, either the sill or the window or something is a little off kilter over the years. So if you put a really dense tape in there, it's either going to make one side really hard to close and you may still have a gap over on the other side, or it's just, you know, it's not going to seal at all. So we've got everything from dense foam, for if you know you have a good straight edge there, all the way to much less dense foam. So if you need one side to squeeze in this much and the other side only squeeze in that much, it'll, and those are exaggerated, but it'll take care of that. And once again, this is easy. You cut it to length, you peel off the adhesive backing, and once again, the same thing. You want to make sure you clean everywhere where you're going to put this up. Run that rag with isopropyl alcohol over it again. It dries almost immediately and leaves a very clean surface. And then you just stick this up. This stuff is made, we also have rubber encased. Now this also can be put up with adhesive, or some of it is one-sided where you have a thick side and then a very thin side that you actually tack into place. You've all seen the brass type of door enclosures also. It's kind of a V-fin, so as you close the door it pinches together, but it tries to open, so it creates a little bit of a seal there. That can also be effective, although I really think the foam is better. For this kind of stuff, when you use it in a door jamb, it's probably locked here, but when you open it, on the inside of here is the part that sticks down that keeps the door from swinging on through. You're going to put it on this vertical surface facing the door. So when you close that door, you're squishing that foam down and creating a nice seal. House that I moved into, the front door, I could literally see light coming in on all sides of the door. It was that bad of a seal. And so you want to take care of that too. The bottoms of your door, where they meet with the floor, we've got all sorts of door sweeps that you can add on. This one is very economical. Just peel off the back, stick it to your door, and it's a thinner thing, so it moves easily with the door. Doesn't make it harder to open and close. This one's a little more heavy duty, a little thicker rubber, and this one you hold on with either screws that come with it or small tacks or nails. And we have these in probably 30 different sizes to make customize for your gap, and 4 or 5 different colors to match what you've already got up there. We just bought an entire reset for our entire weather stripping aisle, and we have more products there than you would believe. Whatever sealing needs you have, I guarantee we have a product to take care of it. Across the bottom of the door, the aluminum thresholds that are in so many homes, you know that rubber hump that sticks up in the middle that breaks down? You don't have to replace the entire aluminum threshold, although we do have those. We have simply just the rubber that for a very cheap price, you can replace that. It just has, you know, two little fins that slide into the grooves along the edge of that. And this is very easily replaced, so you're not looking at tearing out that whole threshold and replacing it just because the rubber in the middle went bad. Although we do have several different thresholds that, you know, if you just don't like the way yours looks anymore, or you've changed to flooring possibly, say you put down tile, you got rid of carpet, something along those lines, and you need something that sits a little differently, we've got all that stuff too. Let's see, what else? For outside going in, how many of you guys, anybody have swamp coolers, evaporative coolers on your home? Those all have open gateways, and there is nothing to stop the air from continuing to move through those side panels and onto the tubing and on into your attic. And then even if you have closed louvers or a cover, a sliding cover at some point, that air is still making its way into that tube, which then radiates into your attic, which then costs you heat. So we have cooler covers in just about every single size. Drawstrings around the bottom. They just, not only that, but they protect your cooler from insects building nests in there, from wasps getting in, from the Colorado sun beating the crud out of your paint on your cooler so it's all peeling and chipping next year. This is just a great idea. We also have these for air conditioning compressors, even though that's not a heat loss issue. If you have central air, we also have these covers for that unit that will do the same thing. It'll keep, in general, it'll keep those fins. I guess it is kind of an energy issue because you don't cover up your air conditioner compressor outside, and in the wintertime, snow, everything else piles in. On top of that, the fan's not moving. There's nothing to kick that stuff back out going on, so you can get a lot of crud built up in those fins and make them a whole lot less efficient at dissipating heat come next summer when you're running again. As far as the fireplace goes, there are some people who just flat out don't use them anymore. If you have just a regular wood burning fireplace, aesthetically it may be nice, but it's just sucking heat right up your flue. If you are somebody who does not use your fireplace anymore and has an older home, your flue seals to some extent, but it's one layer of metal that may or may not seal tightly. We have fireplace plugs that you can actually put right up into that flue area, expands out, and will make a much tighter seal so you're not losing air drafting up there. We also have there's a lot of different times you got an intake that you may not be using, or a vertical outtake. We've got these, they look like paper plates, but it's a nice metal cover that you can put over your flue to really seal that up if you're not using your fireplace. Also keeps mice and squirrels and birds and whatever little nasties out of there. These next two things have nothing to do with energy saving, but with winter coming on, how many of you guys had what we call ice dams coming out of your gutters last year, where you had ice that got into the gutters, it kept building, and pretty soon you had a nice little waterfall of icicles and all sorts of, it is just a safety issue. I mean, it's dangerous. Drips down on your driveway and your sidewalks during the day, then refreezes at night, and you come out in the morning and you're looking at an ice rink. We have these wonderful little heated cables that you can put through your gutter and along the edges of your roof that then have a small little send unit that will keep those ice dams from forming and will keep your gutters nice and free, and that all of that moisture flowing out. You won't have to worry about having 6-inch killer icicles coming and putting poor Ralphie's eye out when he's shooting his new BB gun. If you haven't seen Christmas Story yet. Anyway, another thing too, I highly, highly recommend these. The way, I don't know if you know the way an outside silcock works, your outside hose faucets. But to keep that from freezing, in an older home, and some of you may even have this, you've got an internal valve that you have to literally turn on and off when wintertime comes in. But most of them have what's called a frost-free valve, which means here's your wall, here's your handle, and then you have a hollow tube that has a stem going in it that can come 18, 24 inches back inside your house, and the actual shut-off washer that presses against the seat is 18 or 24 inches inside your house. And so hopefully that's far enough in to keep any ice from forming inside of that tube, because, for instance, when people leave a hose hooked up and a freeze comes in, what that happens is all the water from the valve between that and the wall cannot drain out. Now that water freezes, expands, busts your pipes. You don't know it till next spring, but the first time you turn on your hose and that whole tube fills up with water, you got water gushing everywhere. So these little Hummers are very simple. You just take this little thing, you put it around the hose nozzle, pull tight, you tighten this up, and you have a nice little insulated cone to keep all that cold, nasty air from getting at your frost-free valve. They're cheap as can be, they're a couple bucks. And I don't know if any of you have ever had to dig into a wall, especially in an older home, to try to replace an outdoor spigot. It's not fun. And unless you are good with soldering iron or a soldering torch, in a lot of cases, you're looking at calling a plumber, and it's expensive. So that's a great idea, just to winterproof your home. Let's see here, your furnace. The harder your furnace has to work, the more energy it's sucking, the less heat you're getting out of it. And you're also, I mean, when it's having to work harder, you're cutting into the overall life of your furnace. Changing your filters on a regular basis at the determined length of the particular filter is incredibly important. A lot of folks and a lot of heating and air conditioning guys recommend the thinnest, least restrictive. This is a 30-day filter. It's just fiberglass fibers running through there, and it stops hair, it stops most dust, and you can make this more efficient by spraying it with, we've got a spray at the store that will electrostatically charge these fiberglass fibers, and it will definitely suck up a lot more dust if you do that. These are meant to be changed every 30 days. This is the least restrictive, and if you have central air, I do recommend these during the summertime, because it'll just be so much more efficient. It won't restrict your airflow as much as a pleated filter will. Now, pleated filter, yes, it does restrict your airflow a little bit more. This is the most common one. This is a 90-day filter. You only have to change this every 3 months. These have what's called a MERV rating on them. I don't even know what it stands for. It has nothing to do with Griffin or anything, but it talks about how small of a particulate it will stop. The larger the number, the smaller the particulate that it stops. This is a good middle ground for if you want to not restrict your airflow too much and you don't want to make your furnace work harder and burn that extra energy, but you do want to catch more of the fine dust that is in everybody's ducts and everybody's air. Now, if you have pets, lots of pets, people with bad allergies in your home, you may even want to step up to one of these Filtrete. These have an extremely high, and you can see, the pleats get smaller and smaller as you go. You may want to step up to one of these Filtrete. These, yes, they will restrict your air a little bit more. They will make your furnace or your air conditioner work a little harder, but they will stop really, really fine particulates. Think of this as, for those of you who change out your vacuum cleaner bags and you get the HEPA filters, think of this as a HEPA filter for your furnace. So they are very effective at getting rid of dust, getting rid of animal dander, all that stuff that maybe bothers a lot of people, but they are going to make your furnace or your air conditioner work harder. So know that too, and decide. Light bulbs in the last 3 years have come a million miles. I brought along a few of our displays from this store here. This first one is just talking about, these two are incandescent lights. They're the old-fashioned. They have a filament inside of a vacuum bulb that when you run electricity to it, it gets hot and it glows and it emits light. Most of these, the common ones, have been legislated out of existence. They were not energy efficient enough. New laws have stated that they can no longer be manufactured. The only incandescent filament type bulbs you're going to find are specialty bulbs. We recently sold a lot of green ones for people that wanted to honor veterans yesterday. So you can still get some specialty bulbs in incandescent form, and you can get halogen bulbs, which are more efficient. They're not nearly as efficient as a CFL or an LED, but for those of you who absolutely are still sold on an incandescent bulb, they're about 15% more efficient. So in some cases, they've kind of escaped the death sentence. The next type of bulb that you're going to have is a CFL bulb. That's the one with the curlicues. A lot of people don't like these. Let me just spell a few myths right off the bat. There are myths that they hum constantly when they're on. They don't. There are myths that there is a delay between when you flip the switch and when these turn on. That's not true anymore. The only thing that is true is if you have these in an outside fixture and it's really, really cold, they'll turn on when you first turn them on, but it's going to take about 2 minutes for them to get to their full lumens level. Lumens is the number you use to measure a light bulb output. It will take them a couple of minutes to heat up and get to that full lumens level. Bad thing about these, they do contain amounts of trace mercury. In my honest opinion, these light bulbs are going to be like the 8-track tape. You're going to be with us for a short while. Now, they are very much more energy efficient than an incandescent bulb. They use about 15% of the energy of an old-fashioned incandescent bulb. And so, I mean, if you got them in your home, they're great. Keep using them. When you're done with them, bring them to us. We recycle them. We get them to the right people to safely, remove that mercury from the bulb so it doesn't make its way back out into the environment. And we are more than happy to take those in and take care of that. The next level down, and this is for right now, the future, is LED bulbs. It stands for, first of all, just so you know, CFL stands for compact fluorescent light. LED stands for light emitting diode. You have seen LEDs for 30 years. Every time you turn on a computer and that little red glowing light was there, or you turn on your stereo and it has that one little power light. That's all that is an LED. That's a light emitting diode. However, they have become so much more efficient that for very small amounts of energy, they can produce huge amounts of light now. These numbers are a little bit outdated because this display is a couple years old. But a couple years ago, I mean, you're looking at, for a regular incandescent 40-watt bulb, which wasn't even that bright, you're looking at almost $5 a year to run that one single bulb. Now you go down here to LEDs, you're looking at basically $1. So 5 times more energy to run an old-fashioned one. CFLs, as you can see, are still substantially cheaper than either of the incandescent options. But like I say, in my book, CFLs have their own issues. So LEDs, the bad thing about them, when they first came out in full light form, they were really expensive. We've got some of the LED bulbs that when they first came in, they wanted $40 for a light bulb. And trust me, those bulbs I'm gonna take those bulbs to my grave. We'll never sell them. I'm gonna put them in a museum somewhere, This is from the, really thought somebody would pay this museum, But LEDs now are being made in every conceivable form of light that you're gonna use in your house. Right now, XL Energy has rebates going on. They sell these to us, and they give an instant rebate back to the retailer when we sell these, that this is a 4-pack of 8-watt bulbs, which is the equivalent of a 65 watt recessed light. We can sell these now for about $12 for a 4-pack. Now an LED bulb is going to pay for itself when you compare it to an incandescent bulb in about 3 months. Here's another thing too. I don't know if you can see these numbers on here. This is the hours you can expect out of an incandescent bulb, about 1,000 hours. You can see this one, 25,000 hours. They don't really know how long LEDs are going to last for sure because none of them are burning out yet. You know, the ones that are, unless they've got some strange defect in them, they're estimating LED bulbs can last up to 20 years. So, yeah, they're a little more expensive, but if you seek out the Xcel Energy rebates right now, you can get these things for dirt cheap. This is a 4-pack of the equivalent of 75 watt bulbs. This also is $12.99 in our store right now. And this 4-pack, if you pick out the 4 most used lights in your house, will pay for itself in 2 months. And from that point on, it's all gravy. LEDs are being made for those of you like myself who have a little bit of Clark Griswold in us. a little bit of nuts at Christmas. We have LED lights in, once again, about every size. We got them in the C7 size. We got them in the bigger C9s. We've got them in multicolored. We've got them in white. We've got them in warm white, cool white. We've got them in everything. Just to give you an idea, the energy usage. This is 150 watt or 150 light string here. This string uses less energy than 3 individual bulbs in an old-fashioned C9 set. Just to give you an idea of, you know how in an old set you could maybe hook 2 of them together before you started burning fuses and burning outlets because it was drawing so much power through them? What's the rating this year? You can connect together 30 sets of these, 30 of them, without worrying about burning out a little fuse. You're drawing so little energy through each bulb. We've got them in icicles, for those of you who like the icicles. For those of you who like the net lights for your bushes, we've got them in the net lights for your bushes. Huge, huge savings at Christmas time. For those of you who have recessed lighting in your house, we have these wonderful retrofit kits. These are also LEDs. You don't have to do a darn thing other than remove the form, you know, that ring that's up on your recessed lighting now that's held up by 2 springs. You take that out, you get a little connector kit that screws right into your old light socket and then connects to the back of the LEDs. And then this whole darn thing snaps right up into place. And these are, if you don't like white whites, these are paintable on the outside here. And in 2 seconds, you've retrofitted a single light. And if you have, a room that has a whole row of them, once again, huge energy savings if you just retrofit all of those recessed lightings. These things are, I want to say 12 or 13 bucks a pop. They're not that expensive. They pay for themselves. Definitely within 1 year, they all pay for themselves. LEDs come in regular bulb shape like you're used to. And everything from we've got the regular ones, everything from 40 watts all the way up to 100 watts. So, if you want a really bright reading light, we've got those. They come in for your chandeliers, for your entryway light fixtures in the candelabra base. A little small tiny base with supposed to look like a little flame. They come in those. They come in the vanity lights for over your bathroom. We've got these in not only, the opaque ones, but in the clear ones, so you can replace all your vanity lights in your bathroom with them. And they also come in all the different types of light that people like. Some people like soft light. Some people like the slightly more bluer daylight type. LEDs are being made in every single shade that you could get in the old-fashioned bulb. It's really, you're going to have to spend a little bit of money at first, but you're going to get it back almost immediately. And go ahead.
Can you dim them? Like you have a...
There are dimmable, yeah, you betcha. This bulb right here is, if you see right there, it's dimmable. So yeah, the candelabra ones for that, because I know that's where a lot of people have light dimmers is over their dining room table stuff. They're dimmable. it can make, our cashier was telling me, our head cashier was telling me that she has gone through and redid her entire house. And she said in 1 month, just from redoing her lights, that her energy bill dropped by about 45 bucks. So, and she doesn't have a particularly large house. It's not like, oh my God, it's this huge mansion with 8 gazillion lights. It's a very modest ranch, you know, 3-bedroom, probably 1,200 square feet or so, and it made that big of a savings with just redoing all the lights in her house with LEDs. Let's see here, what else we got to talk about? Water savings. The outside of people who take 6 baths a day, the biggest waste of water in your house is the throne. It's, you know, a lot of older toilets will use up to 4 gallons per flush. The new construction, new zoning regulations and construction codes say that 1.6 is what a toilet ought to be using. You can even beat that. We've got these wonderful little dual flush valves that you can change out on your own with no tools, hand tightening, everything. The difference in these is you push one way for number 1 and the other way for number 2. So you're using about half the water if there's nothing solid, you know, if you're taking a pee, you use about half the water, and if you need a fuller flush, then you push it the other way. This one, you go down for a full flush and up for a half flush. This one actually has a little handle that is kind of divided in half, and you push it. Here you can see right here, one for a quick flush, one for a full flush. But you know, every time, I mean, imagine you taking every time you go to the bathroom and you're filling up a milk jug full of water and just pouring it down the drain. So that, you know, that can make a huge difference in what you do. Also, your shower heads and your handheld showers and the mounted ones. We have one that's cut down on your water flow ratings. These can save you in your water bill. Say you've got 2 or 3 bathrooms that are in full-time use. These can save you 80, 90 bucks a year on your water bill. And you know, not only that, but here we live in Colorado. It's a dry climate. It's a semi-arid climate. And more people keep moving here. We're gonna, you know, I don't care that all the reservoirs are full right now. We're gonna have to start saving water. And one other thing, speaking of toilets, that everybody should also do. It's a good idea to always test it. We have at the store and they're free, little packets that have one little dye pill in it. And you take that and you put it in the tank of your toilet. If your flapper is making a good strong seal, then you will not see any of that blue water seeping out into the bowl until your first flush afterwards. If you start seeing blue water appearing in your bowl, then your flapper is not making a strong seal anymore. That's the part. There are 2 valves in a toilet. There's a flush valve, which lets the water from the tank escape into the bowl. There's a fill valve, which refills the tank after every flush. The flush valve has a little thing called a flapper on it. It's a rubber flapper. Now that rubber eventually over time starts to break down, starts to get soft and mushy because it's underwater its entire life. And it will allow water to seep through. So come see us get one of those little dye tabs. You can use food coloring too without damaging anything. Squirt just a couple of drops in there, and if you see colored water escaping in the bowl before your next flush, it's time to replace your flapper too. Another thing is sometimes you'll hear, if nobody has flushed your toilet for a while, but all of a sudden you hear it kick on for 5 seconds and then kick back off, that's your flapper. You gotta replace your flapper. Come see us. We have all those.
Just as a side note, Denver Water's looked at our neighborhood in terms of the water usage, and winter water usage is really high for a typical neighborhood, and they think it's because of leaking toilets.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
They said that's probably where in our neighborhood, a lot of the water use is being lost.
And you know, a lot of times people just don't think, I had a guy come in last week who had a really old toilet, but they loved it because of its look. But we had to search high and low to find him a new flush valve because it was in the basement of their house and nobody was down there for a couple of weeks, and this thing had started leaking badly. He got his next water bill and it was about $300 higher than his previous one. So that sent him on a mission around his house to figure out what the heck was going on. But I mean, a leaking flapper can cost you, 10, 20, 30, 40 bucks on every single water bill, and that's just if it's slightly leaking. But I mean, so those three things, if you ever hear your toilet kick on for just a few seconds and then kick back off and nobody has used it, then get yourself a little food coloring or come get us one of those little dye packets from us and make sure your flapper's in good condition. I kind of have really covered about everything that I had to. Oh, no. One more thing. And this is a good one too. This is cool. There is a thing which we refer to as vampire energy. When you turn off, at the end of the day, you turn off your TV, or you leave whatever room you have, your computer, your printer, your monitor, all that stuff in, and you still see all those little glowing lights staring back at you. That means every single one of those units, your CD player, your DVR on your cable box, your stereo, whatever else, your printer, your chargers which are not in use still are sucking energy. Your phone charger, everything else. This is a smart strip. And what it does is you have different zones that you plug things in. You have one master thing. For instance, say your TV can be the controller of all the other things that are in your entertainment center. So that's your master. You plug it in there. You have a couple of outlets for stuff that you do not want turning off. For instance, your cable box. If you turn off your cable box, not only can you not record the shows you want to record, but every time you restart it, it takes forever for Comcast to reload your channels and blah, blah, blah. So you don't want your cable box, the power, being deprived of all power. However, if you've got say you got a home entertainment system, you've got a power amplifier or that amplifies the sound, you've got DVD players, CD players, stereo amplifiers, any of that stuff. You don't need that stuff on all the time. And so you plug those into this one down here, and when you turn off the TV, it will also turn off automatically every other thing that you don't need to have a constant source of power. Computers, it'll kill your printer. It'll turn off any other thing you have that you're just not using when you're not in the room. And it makes a very large difference. Chargers, like I said, cell phone chargers, if you've got cordless lawn and garden equipment that you have chargers in your garage, this is, a great thing. You can only let those fire when you want them to fire. But I want to say this is $26 if I remember right. And once again, something like this can pay for it. So there's an adjustment screw on it. So you do need to, take a few days of turning your things on and off to dial it in exactly right to where you want it to be. But it's just a matter of a couple days, and then after that, when you hit one remote and you kill your TV, you're also killing all of those other energy suckers. You'll see all those little lights go out instead of staring back at you saying, I'm taking your money. So this is a great little power saver too. That's really about all I had here. Does anybody have questions?
I had a follow-up on the caulk that you're using on the outside. Is it what kind of caulk is it?
Well, it all depends if you want it. This is an acrylic. It's called a siliconized acrylic, which means it has the properties of silicone. It binds as well as it sticks and adheres as well as silicone does. It's going to be just about as waterproof, not quite, but pretty darn close to as waterproof. But the main thing people like about silicone and acrylic is it's paintable. So if you do not want a white strip around your door jamb, you want it to match the rest of the door jamb, this is paintable. So silicone, 100% pure silicone, that's what you want to use in your bathroom because it will last longer. It also has antibacterial, antifungal properties built in with it, and it won't start start turning nasty on you nearly as quick as an acrylic caulking will. But this stuff is great for, for those big gaps outside, for around your windows, for around your doors, and it is paintable.
Thank you.
Anybody else got anything?
Say I had $100.
Okay.
And I said, I live in Harvey Park and I want to get the best bang for my buck.
LEDs. Easy. That's an easy call. Well, yeah, I take it back. LEDs and window film during the winter. I've got my old house that my daughters grew up in when they were little. Their room was just, no matter what we did with a thermostat, their room stayed cold all the time. This took care of it. One simple little window film took me 10 minutes to put it up and 5 minutes to blow dry out all the wrinkles. And it was still as clear as a bell looking through that window. And that room was the same as the rest of the house from that point on. So those two things I'd say are the best bang for your buck. Simple window film and LED lights.
We have old windows on ours which have the aluminum frame.
That's okay.
We had issues that when it gets too cold, it won't
You
stick.
don't want to put it up on a cold day. You want to wait for a day when the actual frame itself is going to be 50 degrees or better. So if you try to put them up on a cold day, you're right, the adhesive will not stick very well to them.
So if you do it on a warmer day,
Do it on a
will
warmer day
continue to stick
and make sure that that frame is absolutely clean. Then it'll still adhere even when the weather turns cold. Problem is those window frames turn cold, and then all of the moisture in the air inside your house condenses on those frames. So no matter how much time you try to keep drying them off, they're always going to be a little bit damp. So yeah, you want to put this up on one of our beautiful 60-degree midwinter Colorado days.
You know what, another source of losing energy is, a lot of folks have that central exhaust fan in their homes.
Right.
And what I put into the batten a couple of years ago, and all that air is going, all the hot air is going up that into the attic.
Yeah.
Stop.
I should have brought one of those with me. We have magnetic covers that are just large sheets of magnetic material that you cut to the size of, that's a great point, of your exhaust fan, of the louvers where they flip up when you turn on that fan, and it'll just suck right up to that. Easy as pie. Cut it to directions and you hold it up and stick it on there and you're done. What's that?
Attic fan?
Yes.
Attic fans, yeah. Whole house fans, attic fans, whatever, you're right, yeah.
That's what you're talking about?
Right.
And that
And there's
inside,
something you put in there?
Well,
in the winter?
the little louvers that pop up when you kick on that fan,
My daughter has one, that's why I'm thinking.
yeah, those louvers are not airtight. They don't seal all that well. And that's a direct pathway out of that right to the outside.
But where's she gonna put this cover, right underneath?
Inside the house,
Oh, right in the
in
hallway.
the hallway, yeah, you take and you cut it to the size of the outside frame and just, that's assuming you have a metal frame, which I think almost all of them do. Yeah, wood would just be too heavy and impractical.
What's it made out of? I mean, it's gonna look funny up there, or?
It's just we got it in white or off-white,
Oh,
and it's just, do you know for instance, say you don't want, you have a room you're not using and you want the little magnetic sheets that you put over the heat registers to keep heat from coming into rooms where you don't want it. This is just on a much larger scale, paper thin, and you cut it with a pair of scissors, and it's just a magnetic sheet, and it just sticks right on that metal.
and you can reuse it, or?
You use it every year, you betcha. Yeah, take it off in the spring, in that springtime, put it back up fall and fall, and you can reuse it as many times.
What do they have for
Yeah,
swamp
they're all-
coolers? Because I have a hole, and my husband has to take it off, stick insulation.
Same thing, the same thing would work for swamp coolers too.
But it's like sticking out, it's not a smooth thing.
There's no outside frame around it that you can do that.
It's kind of like, like a fan with a frame, but it's sticking out, it's not flush like the whole house can.
Yeah. Without seeing it, I can't tell you exactly what I'd recommend. attic stuff. Yeah, take a look at it, see if you have, you know, a frame that goes around the outer edge of the opening that is made out of metal, because if that's the case, it doesn't really matter what all the inside stuff is, that'll still stick to that outer frame and seal.
That's what my daughter has, it's a small cooler hooked to it.
Yeah.
I thought it was a,
Well,
she said here.
swamp coolers and attic fans, basically from the inside of your house, the opening that either sucks the air out or pumps the air in are gonna look real similar.
What about people who, like us, that we like a cool bedroom, so we do shut off the heat and leave the bathroom window open?
There's nothing wrong with that, but shut the whole room off, so that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you like sleeping in a cooler room, and I do as well, just shut your bedroom
All
door.
the time though.
And if you have a big gap under your door, maybe roll up a towel, and put it in.
Well, I just thought of that, we never did the bedroom door, you know.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with, you know, having that, but it's crazy to cool down your entire house to 55 degrees, because you like sleeping in that when you're not gonna feel comfortable at 55 degrees the next morning when you wake up. So, you know, just close your bedroom door, and if you got a big gap underneath, just roll up a towel and put it along there.
Well, they have those things that slip under the door, they just go
Yeah.
under and just slide.
Yeah,
I just
we
don't
have
like-
those too. You've seen some of them as seen on TV, the door baffles that work great if you have tile or hardwood, because it'll slide. You just slip it under your door and it slides back and forth the door. We have those. We've got the as seen on TV ones, and we also have the MD brand ones. So,
Well, what about the ceiling vents, roof vents? Like, but I've seen the wind power one.
yeah, we do have turbine covers.
Yeah, should
Um,
those be covered or anywhere?
To be honest with you, that's one area where I'm willing to give away a little energy to make sure that any of that bad air that's getting caught up in your attic is getting vented out of the house. Anything that possibly is coming up from your furnace, or, you know, even just your stove, your oven, your fireplace, anything, or even just a house full of humans and pets breathing out CO2. Some people do cover up the turbines, don't get me wrong. Me personally, I don't mind giving up just a little bit there. But yeah, I mean, you want to make sure that every access into that attic is sealed tight, and that you have, we don't sell, I didn't talk about it tonight because we don't sell big, thick attic insulation at our store, but take a look at your attic insulation and make sure that, you know, you've got a good 12 inches of big, you know, foamy attic insulation up there. The pink itchy stuff or the blow-in stuff or whatever you want, but make sure your attic insulation is up to snuff there, so you don't lose. I mean, like I say, in my book, I don't mind losing a little bit out of the attic to make sure I'm getting the bad air out of the house.
Yeah, we had insulation blown in a little over a year ago, and it made a big difference in the winter, because like I said, we have the aluminum frames, which,
Right.
you know, some of that air, but it made a big difference. Even in
Yeah.
the summertime, because we don't have central air, all we have is an attic fan, and I thought it would help keep it cooler.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping, I've done a couple other of these, and I've had some folks from, we got a real good working relationship with Beverly Hills Glass up in Jewel and Garrison. And they have some incredibly energy efficient windows that the guy came along. He was not available tonight, unfortunately, but you know, if you have windows that are more than, you know, 20 years old or something, it's a darn good idea to look in. And even if you can't, you know, spend the thousands of dollars it would take to replace them all, look at, you know, maybe doing one at a time. And if you're handy, you can do it yourself. I mean, you got a drill and a good power screwdriver and somebody to help you put it up into place. You can mount windows on your own. It's not undoable. I have to. No, you're not buying that.
Are you for hire?
We have a guy in our store who does windows too. Come in and talk to Steven, our paint manager, and he can fix anything in your house that's broken. Anybody else?
What about that, with window film, if you have a window that's recessed into your drywall, about 6 inches, that film, does that go right on the frame? of the window? Or do you
In
want-
ideal situation, you want it right on the window frame, around the very outer edge. I have seen sometimes when either there's somewhat of an ornate, trim work around the window or something on that's really practical, but I have seen it put on the drywall, on the inside of the recessed window.
Does it stick to?
It'll stick to drywall, yeah. And it's, once again, it's all about getting the surface clean. So, anytime you're doing anything where you're trying to get anything to adhere, from paint to adhesive to two-sided tape to anything, having a very clean substrate is what it's all about. And in this case too, having something that is above condensation temperature. So, something above. And I even think it probably says on here, I haven't read it, but it probably says on here to wait for I could tell you that if I wasn't going absolutely blind in my older years. But, well, I don't see it on here, but, oh wait, right here. Apply to a dry surface above 40 degrees. So, yeah, now I would even push it about 10 degrees higher than that. I'd say if you really wanted to adhere all winter long, I'd say maybe wait for a 50 degree. And, we get plenty of those, Get jumping the gun right now. Yes?
On the CFL, I did hear you say that they shouldn't take time to warm up. But I have
On
one
the
that
inside,
does.
they shouldn't take time.
I have one that does.
Oh, yeah?
And do you think that's like
It
an
could be
alert
just a
to me?
defect in that particular bulb. There's something going on, because, even though it's not a big fixture like this, all fluorescent bulbs have a thing called ballast built into them. It's an electronic control that, senses how much energy it needs and controls that. And the ballast is built into this frame. If you pull this apart, you'll see a little circuit board inside of there. And it could be you just have a defective ballast on yours possibly, or some flaw in the manufacturing, but for the most part, on the inside of a standard room temperature house, they will fire on to their full strength immediately. So I think maybe you just have a bad actor there. All right.
We have two ceiling lights that have the long ones in it. Do they make LEDs for that too?
They do, and we just got them. We just got them in our store, and you do not dare, well, I'm not gonna tell you they're cheap, because they're not. But you can immediately plug them into your existing fixtures. And we just got them in. If you come into our store, all of our light bulbs are on aisle 12. And if you go down to the end, we've got this wonderful new little 4-foot display which shows one fluorescent tube and then all of these wonderfully bright, clear, beautiful LED. And we got, shop lights for your garage, work lights for underneath, above a working surface, and just standard fluorescent fixtures. And it's such a nice, clean, bright, crisp light that comes out of LEDs. And it's just basically all it is a tube with a diode about every inch along the way. And they put out, a wonderful quality of light and a lot less electricity. So we do. You can replace your existing, as a matter of fact, the big standard T5 fluorescent tubes, big long 4-footers that we've been putting up and taking down, and you're used to in your doctor's office, your school and all that, those are going away too. There's a much smaller, more high-efficient fluorescent tube that's going to come out and replace those. All the standard ones, these are going to be gone before long too.
I've got those kind of fixtures all around the edge of my den. And usually those bulbs are in pairs in the fixture.
Right.
Can you mix them, or do you need to replace both?
No,
at the
if you're
same
going to
time?
replace them, you want to replace them both at the same time. Because I cannot guarantee that your ballast, which controls the electrical flow, is going to be able to tell the difference between the two. And my guess is one's going to function and the other one's not going to function very well. And I think you smaller ones. Come on in and I'll show you those. We're just starting to get them into the store now. And I'm not sure if we have the big full-on 4-footers in yet. I know we've got the 18 inches in, and the 24 inches, but I don't think we have a 48 inch one yet, but they'll be coming.
What about LEDs?
LEDs are not sensitive to temperature at all, one or the other. Probably.
They would be a good replacement.
Yeah, fluorescence, all that is it's a gas that's inside those tubes. And when you run electricity through it, the molecules vibrate and emit light. Now, molecules in that gas are the same way that they are in every other type of material you can look at, that the colder they get, the slower they move. So as they start moving, when the power originally comes on, yes, they're going to emit some light, but then as that light generates heat and inside the tube warms up to its normal operating temperature, then they're eventually going to get up to their full power. But yeah, in a very cold garage or in an outside porch light, if you have a fluorescent light, it is going to take a couple minutes to get up to full lumens output.
The LEDs, no.
Not with the
Kathy,
LEDs.
at my work, we put them in our freezers,
Yeah.
big industrial freezers at work, and then.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, these are LEDs, they will come on just like this, no matter what the temperature, immediately and at full strength.
Yeah, they totally withstand cold, freezing temperatures, so.
So, when you said when the LEDs first came out, they were really, really expensive.
Ridiculous, yeah.
And it sounds like the warm tubes are kind of that way now. Do you expect the price on those?
I expect everything to drop on them. If you were gonna ask me my honest opinion, I think
GE bought.
it's not gonna be long before you can't even buy an incandescent or a CFL light.
A lot of the major companies have bought the small little pocket companies that came up with these, so they're bringing down the price.
Yeah, I was down, it was funny, my wife and I just got back from vacation, and there's a little Starbucks down in Cancun. Starbucks are everywhere, where we have, you know how a lot of restaurants, businesses will have kind of funky vintage looking lights with big glowing filaments and all that. They're even making those in LEDs. They look like the big old vintage lights with strips, LED strips in them. So they look like the old-fashioned crazy vintage bulbs, but they're LEDs. And we've got those too. If you have a fixture with an exposed bulb and you want something really cool looking, we've got those.
Do they make colored ones?
They do, yes. Yeah, we like I say, recently we just sold a bunch of green LEDs for the Veterans Day. I don't know if how many people saw it, but they put on several different commercials and news broadcasts that was a way of honoring veterans, was to put a green light in your porch light for Veterans Day. So we sold several for that. We got red ones, green ones for Christmas. We got orange and blue ones for Broncos Sundays. Anybody else?
Thank
All right,
you.
guys. I'm gonna stack the business cards up here. I would love to, if you think of a question that you didn't ask tonight, come and see me. I'm there weekdays during daytime hours. And if I'm not there, we got several other really, really great, knowledgeable people at our store too. So come in and see us, and we'd love to answer your questions for you. Grab one of those if you need it.